Trina, Murray, Greg, yes.
Greg and Katrina, I think, are both in the document. No, Katrina.
This is that for roof repair. This is inside the cab.
Nope, that was our last referendum.
Oh.
Hey, Brent.
No,
Sure.
it says 138.
Some kid was supposed to go up last week, so I don't know if you still want that.
Last referendum is this one. What happened?
Todd, wait back.
Is this good? This looks like it.
No, we refinanced one of them. I'm pretty sure that one there is the,
Refunding.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's the high school.
Not as great if you said 5, but you went 15.
And we did that as a referendum, but I think we borrowed it within
Andrew, can you hear us all right?
within Fund 38, so that when it went, is it so when it goes away, you still have that money available?
You do. But you don't, I mean, this is competing for other Fund $10, but.
Right.
But this is what, you know, this is the last payment of this.
Yep.
Then it goes down to these amounts the last few years. So, so we're freeing up like 60,000 for next year, and then it'll be after 5 more years this.
Correct.
But this is the referendum.
That's the high school.
Because he
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. No, the elementary school, I'm sorry, I said that one.
So, 4 years from now, we should be on the ballot.
Correct. And what we did the last time was, from the high school debt retired, right, Josh? And we were able to ask for money and then not borrow as much as we were paying, so taxes actually went down to the referendum. So it's kind of the hope the next time too, is if you can have a referendum to do what you need to do, but still have your taxes go down. Kind of a win-win.
That'll be awesome.
If you can get there.
I think we have everybody available now.
Excellent.
It looks.
Frank, do you want me to let you get in, or are you good while we say the pledge of allegiance that we're down?
I can get in, don't worry about me.
All right. Everybody else is good? Looks like they can hear me, so I've got 6:01 here. We'll call the meeting of the Highland School Board to order. First item is a roll call by the clerk.
Benish, here. Biba.
Here.
Drushmeyer.
Here.
Drury.
Here.
Esser.
Here.
Bitrick.
Here.
Schimick.
Here.
All right, now if you could join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. First item is, or the next item is posting of the meeting given to the public pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1984.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Esser and a second by Drury. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is approval of the minutes from the February 10th meeting with the open and closed sessions.
I'll make a motion to approve both the open and closed session meeting notes.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion by Esther and a second by Drury to approve the February 10th meeting minutes, open and closed session. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is the approval of current expenses and vouchers payable. You got anything on there for us, Bryce?
At the last page, on the last item is, in the contract, we had an amount for, Oracle for virtual days. There were 20 days that we weren't in school up till the end of February. So that's the amount for 20 days. It was 80% of the route pay. And I talked to Tom a couple times. I talked to him today again, and there's 7 days in addition to this so far. And hopefully there's not any more, but in the contract it says we'll negotiate that price. So I'd like to see if we're gonna try to have a finance meeting. I wonder if we could have that item in the finance meeting, so you don't have to have a finance meeting and a transportation meeting, because we'll be talking about routes. We're gonna probably have another building and grounds meeting and one other meeting, policy meeting. So this week, policy update. So there's a bunch of meetings coming up, so maybe we can consolidate those. But that's, you double check and count the days and it's 20 days. So that's the thing for that.
Does anybody else have any other questions on the vouchers?
This is Beeb. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Check.
A motion by Biba and a second by Mitchell to approve the current expenses and vouchers payable. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is public appearances before the board, not for action. Josh or Barb, can you see if there's anybody else in here with us, or?
You have a couple. Now's a chance for anyone to say, if they want to say something.
Anybody else here have anything for public appearances? If not, we'll move on to announcements and reports. Josh, you're up first.
All right, there's several things I want to discuss and share with you tonight. I'll start with interviews. We do have interviews coming up. If you remember from our last board meeting, we got the need for 2 more teachers. So I have interviews scheduled for the week we come back from spring break for a general music and choral position, and then a first grade teacher for next fall. So just give a heads up, they're coming your way. How are kids doing currently? It's no secret, obviously, that virtual learning does not work well for the majority of our kids. So, the time that we've been off here because of the COVID cases that we have experienced here recently and the increase in our district, we decided to go virtual here for a week and a half until spring break, which will give us quite a bit of time. Custodians were all in, cleaned every room, deep cleaned it, did all those things. We had teachers back in here on Monday teaching virtually. So it's tough. We have a lot of kids that are spiraling down and getting farther and farther away from what we'd like to see as far as success academically. So the sooner we can get back here, if it's safe, obviously that's a good thing for us. Saying that, we would like to, and that's coming later, and we'll talk later as far as the calendar change, I'll address what we'd like to do to address the situation that we're in right now. So, spring sports, WA hasn't, they just came out, I think yesterday or the day before, with some spring guidelines on sports. It's kind of hard to interpret, so I had a principals meeting today, and we tabled it as far as what we'd like to do as a conference. If you remember, our winter sports, we wanted to be consistent with our conference members, so we didn't have, families going to one school and having to follow a different rule than another. So we tabled it because we obviously have plenty of time. Spring sports don't start until April 19th. But some things obviously they're discussing is what we're gonna do with fans, masks, players. Some things they're talking about, they're recommending right now that everyone has their own helmet. They're recommending everyone has their own bat. They're recommending, so those are things that are just bats alone. If you require every student or every player to have their own bat and you have 15 players, for example, those bats are pushing $500 a piece. So that's not applicable or feasible for any of us to do those things. So obviously they'll get tweaked here in the next couple of weeks when they get questions back, and hopefully it'll be more routine. They're talking about, right now they're saying you need to wear a mask until you warm up. And then when you hit the field as you warm up, then you can take your mask off depending on where you're at. And they're talking just a lot of inconsistency, and a lot of people are confused right now with what WA is saying. So we're gonna wait, talk about it again. Mr. Bird's superintendent's meeting is next week. Hopefully we'll have more information we can share then. But so far the spring sports are kind of up in the air where, I shouldn't say up in the air, but just a lot of confusion right now for everyone. So we'll get that cleaned up and we'll get that to you before the end of our next board meeting, so. All righty. Our plans for next fall. I would like to start the discussion now. Obviously, it's not a voting matter right now, but I want to start that discussion with the board in regard to virtual learning in the fall. We would like, I'm recommending that we not have virtual learning next fall in the sense that it is not. I recommend that that we have in-person classes for all those that want it. If there's families that feel uncomfortable yet this fall and do not want their students in the building, we'll have a virtual plan for them, but it'll be a different plan where they are not being taught by the teachers in the building. We just found this year as a whole, what we've experienced so far, we're losing too many kids this way. I'm trying to do both for teachers and trying to meet the needs of every kid. It just, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's below a 5 easily. So obviously just a discussion point right now. A lot more information will come to you on that in the future. I just want to start that discussion now and put that out there that having it done the way we did it this year, obviously we'll make it work, and we have. I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of our kids for everything they put in for the most part. However, we're losing too many kids, and it doesn't work to the effect that we need it to. So
Other schools are also looking into this. It's not just.
Some schools have already voted on it. We got, schools around us and in our conference that already voted and said that they're not going to do that next year either. So, we'll still have those kids in as far as our numbers, as far as in our district, they're still our kids, but we'll have a different virtual plan for them where, whether we use, Wisconsin virtual schools, or there's several different ones we can use. Some are cheaper than others, but, and then students will have that option, or parents, I should say, will have that option for their kids.
They have to commit like for a semester at a time. We're going to pay that.
Right.
That way our teachers can just focus on the ones in front of them.
They can still participate in sports, still do everything that they do now as far as extracurricular activities. It just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be taught, as we did this year.
So that might be an outside virtual option that would be run through us. We would
Right.
fund that.
We would fund that
as
for
our
them,
students.
and if they still be our students.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we still have we'll still have to use the iPads, for example, if we have overflow from classrooms, who knows what it's gonna look like next fall? Can we have kids closer than, So, right now we're trying, I'm having the custodians go through again and take out desks. So when we started the school year, we could get everybody 6 feet pretty well, right? Not perfect, but pretty well. But, as school year went on, we got more kids back, which was great. So we're gonna do some little cleanup and start adjusting even more now, and we have to take some more desks out of classrooms to get, we're trying like heck to make it so we don't have to quarantine kids as much. I still can't do that at lunch though. I still can't do that. It's impossible to do that between classes. It's impossible to do that at lunchtime, before and after school. Kids are social beings. We are, humans. So, to try to give, obviously passing times are 3 minutes, so it's not like they're 15 minutes within 6 feet of kid next to their locker during a day, so that's not an issue. However, lunch is going to be, I put 3 at a table, I space them up, but I can't keep, I just don't have the room to keep them 6 feet apart the entire lunch. It doesn't work unless I get another lunch, and if I did that, then we're talking starting lunch at either 10:30 or go until 1:30 or 2 o'clock even. Right now, we're done at 1:17. So, I don't want to spread them out any more than we already do. So, again, we'll do the best that we can. At no time did we say, can I say, I'll be upfront and honest, at no time can I promise you a kid will be 6 feet or more than 6 feet from another kid for the entire day. I can't do that. And I don't want parents or anyone for that matter to think that that's, practical. We can do it as best we can, but that's where we're at with that. Any questions on that?
No, you kind of were asking for some opinions. I think that's a good way of proceeding as long as things keep moving in a positive direction here. And, I think some of the other schools are fortunate where if you've got multiple teachers for a grade, one can focus on the virtual learning and the other one can do in person if you've got them split up, and you just don't have that luxury, and trying to manage both at the same time is tough.
Yeah, even right now when I have overflow, so for example, if it's an English class and I have 5 kids that are overflow, so we rotate those 5 kids and we put them in a separate room. All right, I might have a science class in there, I might have an English class in there, so I have 10 kids in that room, they have their headphones on, they're listening, right? But, with COVID and the pandemic, finding enough people to supervise those classrooms. So, and the kids have been great when they're here. If I can't, I got someone in, I'm checking in, I'm standing, but I got to go here, or I have, you're covering this study hall and I got people bouncing all over the place. But for the most part, I hand it to the kids as far as that goes, where, we've had call down the office, there's, we need a supervisor, and, how many kids in the morning school, hey, it's time, and the teacher's not here, we can, obviously we have the teacher in that classroom through, they can see the kids so they know, but anyway, it's hard to get supervision everywhere we need it all the time. So it's just another thing with the pandemic we have to work through, so. Lastly, for me, is prom. This is obviously something I would like your guys' opinions on. Prom is scheduled right now for April 24th. And my recommendation again is to have a junior and a senior prom. This is the same thing we discussed and I shared with you last month. Coordination for each class. So we'd have 2 kings, 2 queens. The question is the dance. CDC guidelines and the DHS are recommended that we do not have the dance. If that's the case, then definitely we don't have to do that. It's, it was asked if I would share what other schools are doing, and that's all over the board. You have schools that are not doing anything, they're canceling, not having a prom, nothing. It's just done, out for this year. And you have schools that are doing everything. They're having coronation, they're having guests, and they're having a dance. Benton, for example, just had theirs last weekend, so they got theirs in. But other schools are doing I don't know if you want to call it hybrid, but I would, like I said, we have the coronation. I would invite parents only to the coronation, the students that are on court. Have the juniors, for example, if their coronation's first, those junior parents could come in, watch the coronation, and they would leave. Senior parents can watch the seniors, and then they would leave. freshmen through seniors could be there. As far as adding outside people, I recommend that we don't. I know that would have to be a problem for some people that have obviously a boyfriend or girlfriend that's outside their district. Some schools, they aren't doing it and then they're taking care of it outside the district. So I don't know if the junior parents are getting together and they're kind of posting something on their own that's not through the school. Some schools are doing it that way. Some schools are doing where they have just juniors and seniors only this year. And you can have a date if you're on, if you're a junior and senior, they can. If it's one person outside the district, obviously. So there's no consistent thing that any school is doing, and obviously we're right in that same boat, but that's where we're at. But I guess the input I would ask from you is how you feel about the dance part of it. Now, obviously, if we're gonna have a dance, this 6-foot guideline is not going to be followed. It'd be against the CDC guidelines. So obviously we haven't followed the CDC guidelines in many things. We've had fall sports, we've had winter sports, we've had all 3 winter sports, wrestling, basketball, girls and boys. We were able to get a football season in. And honestly, those events were, as far as a highlight of our school year, one of the positive things we can look at in this tough year, right? So I'm honestly all right either way. But I just don't want, what I can't do is say, hey, let's have a dance, but I want you to make sure kids stay 6 feet apart. Can't do that. So I guess if we're gonna do it, let's do it. If we're not gonna do it, I'm fine either way. But the in-between thing, I just don't think that's practical, it's gonna work.
Josh, this is Greg. I guess I understand this is all, this is tough. To be honest, first of all, just having a senior and junior prom together. We know that it just takes away from just the experience of what's been tradition, as just a junior prom. And I'm not trying to be harsh or anything. I think the seniors didn't have one last year, and I'm definitely okay with trying to make it work for both of them to have, some sort of an experience. And I think you said it in the end. For me personally, I'd like to just see us hold it, have a dance. I would argue that we should think about allowing if the students have a date from another school in. We let people in for winter sports. At the end of the season, definitely. Wrestling was how I can speak personally because we only had two parents or 2 people per athlete, at all year. And I understand there was more schools involved, but at the end of the year, when we were at Wausau East, the whole one side of the gym was basically empty, So, and in basketball, we let people, the bleachers were full, people from other schools in our school. I'm assuming that, the requirement to wear a mask in the school for prom is going to be there. So, and you're right, you can't police the 6-foot distancing. So, and when you talk about CDC guidelines, yeah, but are we really following the CDC guidelines to a T as they revise things? Just in all the cases, all the testing, all the quarantining, are we really, maybe I'm wrong or off base, but it doesn't seem like we are following that when things are revised or when they loosen up some things. And maybe I know we've talked about it before, but so I don't know. I feel like we decide to treat things one way, and then another way we look at it differently. So
I agree. Oh, sorry.
my 2 cents. And I will just say also, I'll back up and say what you're doing. I think with the spring sports, I agree, you got some time. about 6 weeks before games, I really would like to believe, and I think that's a whole different discussion when it comes. I believe in what the other districts are doing, they try to follow, but I'd like to see where, it's outdoors. I think it changes the landscape of a lot of things. So we can have that discussion when I probably won't be maybe here for that discussion. Maybe I will be, I don't know. But when you do, well, that's different than this prom deal. But that's my 2 cents, and I'll let anybody else talk.
Yeah, just to add to what Greg was saying, I agree. Some CDC, for example, guidelines say that they want, indoors 25 or less. Right. Well, obviously we haven't done that. We're able to make it work all year with 300 kids in the building, right? But one thing I do want to add, some ways we're above what CDC is requiring, right? School districts are staying with that 14-day quarantine where, quote unquote, private, if you want to call it private, public can come back maybe in public in 10 days because of the fact that it's hard to keep them 6 feet apart. However, if we do decide to have a dance and someone were to be positive that was at that dance, I don't know how you don't quarantine. Who do we quarantine and how do we determine who it is, right? Would it have to be everyone at the dance? So I don't know, how do you get that's a tough one. And I hate this to say we have 80 kids and someone's positive, do I quarantine all 80 kids? Because we don't know who is within 6 feet of someone, right? So I suppose if that's the case, then would we let parents know? Obviously, we'll let parents know beforehand. If this happens, you need to be aware. So starting April 24th, if they're quarantined, we find out the next week, it could be possibly, if they're in a sport, for example, they can miss up to 8 to 10 games. And I don't want to be that's a tough call, right? So I don't know how we get around that, or how do we, if you guys have suggestions on that, if you think we can.
Josh, that's tough. Can we, and I've seen other events that are out there. Can you sign? Can you go the extra steps? Can you have someone sign a waiver? Can you take everybody's temperature when they come in? That's been done. I don't know that is how far we need to go, but
yeah, I have zero problem taking temperatures when they come in. We can do that pretty easy at that.
To me, I'm willing to give these kids, which won't even be half of the experience. I'm willing to do that for what these kids have gone through. I echo our staff. No one asked for any of this. We didn't. But I really truly believe that our district has rose above, and we've been successful. And I think if we ask people, tell them what the rules are, but if we just tell them that no, there's just going to be this coronation, there's going to be no dance, there's going to be no someone's date from another school that can't come, kids are just not gonna, they're not gonna come. They're not gonna come. And as a parent, that's tough. But I feel at this point, case numbers are going down. I know we've got some stuff going on there now, but I really feel if we set the parameters out there, I think people will follow them. And, I don't have the answer for you as far as, if someone tests positive, what you do in that situation. But I don't know. I'm just willing to give these kids the best experience that we can, because they've already lost a ton.
I'm okay with moving forward with it, but I think the most important part is, so when everybody's going into it, that they know exactly what could happen. So if that's what you're going to do, is everybody's quarantined, if one person ends up having it, then that needs to be very clear to everyone before they go.
So Josh, just a question on the quarantine, and I think it's something that's going to be difficult to work out, and I appreciate the difficulty of it. But, we've had basketball games here where we've had kids bring students from other schools to the basketball game, and if somebody tested positive there, we wouldn't quarantine the whole gym, right? So I'm a little, just trying to figure out how to help you make that decision, and I'm not sure how to do it. I know maybe dances have changed a lot since I was a kid, but I don't know that the kids are within 6 feet for 15 minutes of everybody that's there. Like you said, it's hard. The hard part is trying to figure out who's who. My question though is, even with the coronation, if we have the kids in the gym for a half an hour for each coronation and they take pictures and stuff, aren't we already to the point almost of having the exposure at that point? I'm just trying to figure out what additional risk the dance would bring.
Not if they're 6 feet apart. So they just be close together for the pictures. 15 minutes is the max.
Okay.
But then if they dance, they'd be more time. You'd almost have to have a few cameras up and study the film and see who's with who and who wasn't with. Problem I see is, especially if they're gonna miss ball games or whatever, parents are gonna flip out. It's like,
Well, it's just that they're
the
gonna
kid
want,
wasn't close to that kid.
right, they're definitely gonna say if there is a positive case and they have to quarantine, they're gonna wanna know if their child was within so many feet of whoever for X amount of time. So yeah, you're probably gonna have some way of monitoring that if it comes down to that. So I guess the question being is, like Andy said, I think if they going into it, and it's especially an athlete that's participating in spring sports, they have to know what's on the line if they attend prom, and if there becomes a positive case out of it. Like Josh said, there's a possibility that however many games they can miss in 14 days' time because of one positive test. So they have to know what they're gonna get out of it. I
Could
guess
they
if
have the option, sorry, could they have the option of just going to the coronation? Could we have two options? So those that aren't willing to put that on the line don't go to the dance, but they just go to the coronation, and that wouldn't expose them the same?
Oh, yes, we could definitely do that. You know, you might say someone too, there's the other issue. I mean, we could definitely say, okay, when coronation's over, the dance is going to start now in 5 minutes. So anyone that does not want to participate in the dance, now is your time to leave. So that way, if someone comes up positive that was at the dance, those kids that left obviously would be free from that. But
And you still have the option, if it's nice outside, there's no reason why you can't have the dance outside, correct?
well, that's it. I should have brought that up. So yeah, it's April 24th. It might be, you know, I would love to say, we're going to open up these back doors right back here. We're going to move the dance right up here. Now, I don't know how much that would affect quarantining, but it might help a lot with someone getting it.
Well, right, but you're at least outside.
You still have, you still have
And have
6
a
feet and all that.
mask
Yeah, you still have a mask on, you're still outside.
Yeah. I mean, I want to leave those doors open regardless. I don't care if it's 20 degrees, it's going to be warm. Let's leave those doors open and get enough, you know, so hopefully no one gets it, right? But
Well, I think, you know, you're towards the later part of April. You know, your night's gonna be a little bit cooler, but it's not gonna be so cold that they wouldn't be able to throw a light jacket on and still be outside and enjoy the dance if that's what they want to do. Provided it's not raining or sleeting or snowing that night.
right.
Could I have a
Yeah, it makes it
clarification?
hard to have a dance and have kids that are out for sports that wanna have to leave because of that they're concerned about it. Still wonder if there's a way to do some pods of kids where, you know, groups can kind of hang out together, and if one of them tests positive, they're all quarantined, but break it up a little bit where it's not everybody.
That's
You
good.
know how it is, the kids kind of hang out with a group that night anyway. It's not that they're gonna be within.
I think that's the other question too, is with the juniors and seniors sharing the gym for prom, is there a way of opening up? Obviously they can, you know, it's cruddy outside and you have the dance, and obviously you have the commons. Is it possible just to also let them in the elementary gym just to spread them out some more?
I mean, anything's possible. Obviously, there's only one place that's decorated, but.
Right.
You know, we say all the juniors and freshmen are in this gym and seniors and so what, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, obviously, like Clyde said, they're gonna have groups that they're gonna be in and out of. But.
Yeah.
At least you know, you're doing all you can to kind of spread them out so it limits the chances of getting that.
The children are already so separated as it is in this society right now. Why are we continuing to push that? It's a prom. It's a dance. That's what they're supposed to do, is go dance. They'll hang out with the groups they want to hang out with. And every parent should just take into consideration, if their child goes to something like this, they could get the COVID. So that's the choice the parent takes. Why such a huge discrepancy over it?
But
Katrina, I can.
I wish I could answer that for you, Katrina, but there's gonna be a lot of people that, I agree with you on it, but there's gonna be a lot of people that say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I'm just trying to throw out options to say, this is everything that we're gonna try to provide. And if they choose to do that, they choose to do that, but they know going in, this is what's going to happen if there's a positive case.
Yeah, but can someone answer a question for me? So, Matt, if there's this so-called 15-minute rule, so, and it doesn't matter if you had a mask on or not, right?
Right.
Well, I have a problem with that, but that's personal to me. But I just feel like there's been inconsistency with that. But again, I agree with Katrina. I mean, Katrina, I don't mean to sound, this isn't a joke, but I was like, maybe we need to watch the movie Footloose, for these kids. I mean, and I understand, guys, we're trying to do the right thing, and I respect everybody's opinion, but at the end of the day, I don't want to put all this pressure on. I don't want people walking around all night saying, you can't be with this person, you can't be this person, you got to move this, you got to do that. If we're going to do that, then we might as well cancel it, because that's not healthy for anybody. I understand we're trying to.
Right, I don't think we're recommending that at all. What I'm just trying to say is, you provide the space for them to be in, and they choose who they're gonna be with. So that the outside person can't come and say, you didn't provide enough space. No, we provided enough space. This is the parameters going in, everybody knew that. Here's what we had. If they chose to be within that space for 2 hours next to one another, that's what they chose. I'm not telling them they can't go dance with whoever. You can't be there, whoever. We're saying we're providing you this space. Enough space.
I think that's fine. I think, Andy, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so I think you were just saying, as long as people know what the parameters are, especially the parents and the students know that.
Right. Ultimately, what's going to come out of this, if there is a positive case, we're going to hear the backrash of it. It's going to happen.
And there
But
probably
we've
will
No,
be.
no,
been
not-
getting it.
Yeah, no matter whether they knew going in what was going to happen or not.
How do
It's
we
gonna
expect
happen.
the staff to monitor all that?
That's just it.
I
They can't.
really feel like it's all or nothing. If you go, you will be quarantined if somebody gets it.
Exactly. That's just how it's going to go. And there's probably going to be a lot of parents and kids that are mad because of it. But that's how it's going to have to be if you choose to be at prom.
And I understand everybody's wanting to get back to normal, but unfortunately, we have to deal with this all day at school and try keeping kids apart and try keeping this limited, and to have one night where we just kind of let it go. I mean, if we want to do that, we can, but then like you said, you just got to know what the consequences are, and we pretty much would have school shut down again, or at least the high school for 2 weeks, virtual, because of prom, potentially. And again, if people know the risk, that's the thing I wrote down too, is people have to understand the risk and be willing to to put up with consequences if they happen.
It's no different than our everyday with our kids. We all have kids, right? You have to make a decision. Am I gonna allow my kid to go to this place? You know, they wanna go to McDonald's, am I gonna allow, it's a, every day you're making a choice. This would be another one of those choices, what I'm hearing, right?
Well, it's a choice, we all had students or children all participated in some type of a sport this winter. We all made the choice whether they, for baseball, for example, have their own bat. Well, my daughter touched the same basketball 10 other people or 15 other people did on the basketball court. Why would you have to have somebody else's own bat? So you make a choice to be on the floor or on the field, then you're making a choice to be a prom. You know the consequences going in. There is a possibility you could get quarantined. It happened to my daughter. It wasn't even on the floor, it was here at school. So it happens.
Well, Josh and I talked about this, the people from the health perspective, they're gonna say the most conservative thing, which is what some of these schools have done. Their kids haven't even been in school yet all year. They're totally isolated. And then, yeah, if you look at it as a standalone, should you have a dance? It'd be safer if you didn't, but we've already had all these contact sports and different things going on. So then, if you don't have a dance, but you allowed all this other stuff, it's almost like how people always point out after the basketball game or the football game where you don't shake hands. I've had so many comments about that when they just played football head to head, or they just wrestled them, but you can't shake at the end, they don't shake at the beginning. And so you feel it's just a tough thing.
I'm gonna bring up later about a musical. We're gonna have, I want your opinion on that. We'll let you know we want to have a musical in June. So same thing there. It's, we try to be as consistent as we can, right, with everything. And obviously it's impossible to be perfectly consistent because there's different situations for everything, I know, but it's a tough one. Obviously having a dance is taking a risk, right? However, we are giving parents the choice to take that risk. If they feel comfortable with that, if you guys are okay with it, we can do it. My biggest thing, as I said, the hybrid of some form doesn't work with a dance. Either we're gonna do it, as Andrew said, I think Katrina mentioned it. If we're gonna do it, let's do it. If we're not gonna do it, there's no in between. Just make sure parents, students understand protocols before they go.
So we could make them understand that. We could give them the option to leave after the coronation. You could take temperature at the door.
A temperature is not a sign. Obviously, if they're temperature, we're not gonna let them in, but temperature may not be a sign that they have COVID or not. They could have COVID without having temperature.
So it's just,
just
to
another.
put some other precautions in place. But like Andy says, we can't supervise who's been with who's been close enough, who's timing each kid. Technically, it could if you spend hours and hours on tape, but we don't really have that capacity.
So I guess the question, Josh, is you need us as a board to vote whether there is or is not a dance?
My only fear with that, Josh, and I've just mentioned from our perspective, is we could tell you tonight there is or isn't. In 6 weeks, when this comes up, things may be completely different. I think you guys need the flexibility yet to change your mind ahead of time.
We were hoping you'd tell us. So you guys did.
I think for the most part, from what I'm hearing from the board, is everybody, I haven't heard from Todd yet, but I think they're all in support of having the dance as long as people know the risks involved in it. You're right, we've allowed kids to wrestle and play basketball with kids from other schools, so.
All right, I don't need, I guess I'll tell you this, and at this point, I'm going to move forward and plan to have that. And obviously we'll have another meeting before prom. If that changes and we need to put it on the agenda as a voting item, does that make sense, Mike, to go that route, Mr. Bird, that makes sense? That's all right then?
I think
Brent, I haven't heard much from you or Todd. I just want to check with you guys before.
I'm in agreement with pretty much everybody there. I think as long as everybody knows that it's their choice, they have to have a choice. I agree. The whole thing, we've had a lot of people in the gym for sporting events, and I don't see how it's a lot different than that. Sure, if we get some people that come back positive afterwards, we might have some issues, but if we don't have it, we're going to probably have bigger issues if we say we can't have it. We're going to probably have more parents coming at you if we say no than if we let it go through. So I think the fact that we're putting it out there for everybody to make their own decision, and they know what the consequences could be if something did happen. I mean, it's up to them, like you guys said.
So how did it work in football? Like if you were playing the opposing team, if they had a positive, would our whole team be quarantined then?
Yes. That's one thing that was, my press was made today as well. We brought that with spring sports. You know, I wanted to put it out there. It says as a conference, and we may not have that choice, as a conference, I don't want to quarantine another. If we're playing Chelsea and we play them today, tomorrow I call up their principal and say, hey, we had a positive case. I'm not quarantining your team like we did in basketball. We had that issue. In football, we had that issue. So baseball and softball, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, as a conference, that's what we're talking about. If the WA says something different, then we won't have that choice. But football, that wasn't the case yet.
So do you have any dates in mind for this yet? You don't like to make everything about sports, but if we looked at the schedule, it would be nice to plan it around so there's no playoff implications. Or, you know, if we have
First round, it's April 24th.
You know, just plan on and say if we have to quarantine, are we going to miss the least amount of games if we have on this date? Or...
I mean, one thing we could do is move it back after the seasons are over, which should be the end of June.
They're running pretty late.
This year it's really late. It's in the middle of June.
Yeah.
I think with your date set, Josh.
I guess if we were, you know, it'd be nice if we had it like this weekend. But with where we're at right now, as far as the quarantining and everything now, it wouldn't work anyway. But yeah, if that's something you guys want me to pursue as far as looking at dates where we're, you know, possibly moving it, I can do that.
That's what's going to cause the most problems or upset parents is if sports get shut down. It's not supposed to be all about sports, but that's where the complaints would come from.
Well, I think, Josh, that's something to at least have a discussion with the two teams, because you don't want 5 kids skipping the dance because they think they're doing the right thing so they can play ball. When 5 kids go and now you can't play anymore.
Right, don't mind.
So I think they need to have that discussion amongst themselves and that.
Yeah, I think the coaches need to address that.
Yeah, as you know, it gives it, it might not even be 5. We
Might
might
be
be 3, we might
yeah.
not be able to play.
Right.
Okay.
You got more on your list over there?
Oh, boy, let me check. That's been a while. I think the rest of the discussion pieces will be addressed later in the meeting, so I think I'm good there, Mike.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Josh before we move on? Nope. All right. Bryce, you're up.
Just wanted to talk a little bit about the debt schedule. I didn't think I did a real good job last board meeting, but I had Linda share this with me, and it's on the agenda as a document. So a couple things. We have debt that's inside the revenue cap called Fund 38 debt. So that is debt that really doesn't increase the taxes for the district. It's within our general fund, and it actually competes with other money that we are using to operate the school. So next year we'll have about around 60,000. The one amount of money is paid off, and that's started out to be 480,000. That was this Wisconsin retirement unfunded pension liability that was paid off. And then there was another debt of 715,000, and we've got 5 more years of paying on that. And so 5 years from now, in 2026, that'll be the last payment. So the following year, there'll be about 80,000 more to use in that. But important thing to note how the board and the administration have structured this. And that's almost $1,200,000 of debt that was paid off that didn't increase the taxes because of that. That went inside the cap. The other thing, the other debt we have, and this is important for later when we're talking about some building and ground stuff, is we have a payment each year in the neighborhood of 270, 266, 270,000. 4 more payments after this year. So that is the building debt that used to finance the addition of the elementary building. So that's to be paid off in 2025. And why that's important is that would be the year that we would want to do some of the major maintenance and any changes, because the bigger projects we can't afford to keep those inside the revenue cap. We don't have enough excess in our budget to take on a $270,000 payment again. So the plan would be to structure a referendum at that time for whatever our needs are at that time, for building maintenance, any large scale thing. So it's 4 years out, but we need to be thinking about what would go on those lists. And later on, when we go through the building and grounds, there's some things with the roof we're talking about tonight that we're going to try to make some things last until that time. So just wanted to point that out. Another thing is I looked up, we're going to be talking about summer school later on, and the summer school amount of participation has been really good here. We count minutes for kids. We have enough minutes that it creates about 4 extra students in our student count each year, which brings in about $50,000. And you'll see later on that the summer school salaries are about half that. So the summer school pays for itself. It actually makes the district some money. So last year, there were some things that changed. We had to have it later. There wasn't as much money spent. There wasn't as many kids that we generated, but we count the minutes, it turns into a formula, and every 48,600 minutes or hours of instruction equals 1 student, and that goes into our formula. So it's been very successful. And again, when you have asked to approve the summer school and you see the amount for salaries, just remember it's about 50,000 more to the revenue limit, creates $50,000 that we can work with in our formula. Health insurance, we had a health insurance meeting. We were at the CISA 3 co-op, and there's 12 schools in that co-op. And so we have a really strong partner, M3, out of Madison. Rui Hillenbrand has been with us. It's been about 10 years since we've had this with surrounding schools, and they came out, they wanted to do a 5% increase for next year, but she's negotiated them down to a 3%. So the unknown factor with health insurance is how COVID is going to affect all this, and there's so many unknowns. But we've got to be such a large group that companies don't want to lose our business, and that's an advantage of that. We had maybe 6 or 7 to start off with. I think we lost 1 and gained a couple. She also thinks that a lot of schools will get hit with big increases next year, so we may gain people to join the co-op. It makes us even bigger. Right now, we have the next 2 years going forward not to exceed 7%, and she's going to try to negotiate that down. She's been really successful, and that's the biggest network. That's Quartz Network, and it's been a broader network, gives us more options. So that's real positive. The last thing I have is just to talk about a little bit more about budget. We have some different funding that came in. We had one group of 40,000 of ESSER funds. It's either called CARES or ESSER. I think most of that is used up for certain things, technology-wise, and also paying for additional subs. And it also pays for our hotspots. So some of that money is used at hotspots so people can get connected when they're virtual. There's another round of that. There's about $100,000 that we stand to get as soon as the dust settles on that. That we go forward for the next 2 years, and we can use it for learning loss. We can still use it for virtual things. We're not really going to, I mean, that's just going to make us kind of back to square one with expenses that we had to incur for the pandemic. This kind of makes us whole, which I'm glad we have it, but that's one-time money. It doesn't stay in there. So if we're counting on that money to pay for staffing and different things, that goes away in a couple of years. Then I don't know what the federal government, you know, the third round of things, I don't know what that's going to look like, but a lot of the talk is to catch kids up. So there possibly could be money that we could use for a couple of years for hiring more paras, or maybe even another teacher or some other services, just to try to give a little bit more intensive help. And so that would be, again, welcome, but it doesn't stay in there. So now sometimes I say that when people do talk about how much money you're getting, or I thought the schools got all this money. Yeah, we did get some money, but it's for things, we had expenses that equal this money, and it doesn't give us really any more money to operate on recurring expenses. It doesn't pay for really recurring things. Then the state budget, we go through this every 2 years when they set the biennial budget. So we don't know how much money we're going to have to operate. So we try to set the budget based on what we had last year, those formulas, those things. And we try to adjust, you know, how many staff we have. We know there's certain things we do know, just don't know how much money we're going to have. You know, I watch that stuff, but it's hard to do a lot of predicting until you get a little bit farther into the year. Sometimes it's settled by June, sometimes it goes into the fall. That's why it's so important to have a fund balance like we do, because you don't know exactly, and things do change. But you know, Governor Evers has presented some changes, some increases, and so have the Democrats. The Republicans are trying to cut spending, and also they don't. The other thing that's in play, like we talked about before, is the state revenues, and then there's people who project more money from tax revenues for the state. Then some other people will project the unknowns that aren't figured in there. So it's just kind of a battle. It will settle. I'm going to ask for a finance meeting to do projections based on what we do know, and there'll be probably some conservative things, and we'll have some projections on both spending for this year, where we're at, and also projections for next year. And then, you know, as soon as we know things, then we can actually plan easier. Unfortunately, usually have people hired or laid off or changed before you know for sure, and that's just the way it's been. So every year, every 2 years, it's like that. And then the second year of the budget, I think you know the rules going in, but you don't know all the unknowns, but you at least know how much money per kid and that kind of thing. So the rest of the stuff is going to come up later in the agenda. So that's okay. Any questions?
Bryce, I just got done reading the Recovery Act, all 6,200 pages of it. No, I didn't read it. But I did see a number in there of 128.6 billion for schools, to keep schools functioning. You know, I'm just curious, and I know it's too early to know, and I mean, I guess that's going to be interesting to see coming down in the future, what that actually means, what's available. Is it going to be funds to the states, you know, things we apply for? But 128.6 billion, that's quite a few dollars. So I think that might be interesting.
You know, a lot of it, when you get money, there's rules tied to it. Like you get the money, but there's stipulations. They, you know, it's pretty clear to me that when they do give money, they don't really trust us to decide locally what we want, what our needs are. They want to dictate it And, you know, hopefully it does go to some places like mental health and the things we've been talking about to kind of bridge the gaps and do certain things. But from my experience, it'd be nice if we could get money that we could use how we think we need it, you know, in our local school. And it's not likely to happen. That money will come with strings attached to it.
Right. I can just speak from some personal experience. I just know that there is some early indications in language. You know, these bills, these stimulus bills are, you know, there's a lot of things. There's many things tucked away in them, and there's a lot of things I've seen so far where there's a lot of so-called debt forgiveness, a lot of, you know, that's not some of the things I'm seeing early on, maybe some of those strings not attached. Now, that would be really nice to do that we as a district could maybe get some of that money. And you're right, do the things that we're, you know, invest it where we see important. You know, obviously there's a laundry list, you know, we just, I think about mental health of students and, you know, and, you know, just, I don't know, there's endless lists, but it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. I just thought I would throw that out there.
All right, does anybody else have any questions for Bryce? Doesn't look like it, then we should be on to new business. 2021 summer school program and staffing.
You can see the links there, the teachers that are not volunteering, but are signed up to work the summer school classes. You can see the payment schedule there on that. And then if you click on another link, it's got the class list and course descriptions if you want to read any of that. The dates, June 7th through June 25th. That's Monday through Friday, 8 to 12. And then the STEM Academy is with Miss Pierk and Miss Bowen. They did the training and all that stuff the last couple of summers now. That would be June 28th to July 2nd, and they would do 2 sections. Last time we had this, there was a ton of kids that signed up for it, so we're going to split it in 2 sections. We have lower elementary from 8 to 12, and then upper elementary 12 and 4. I want to do the STEM Academy. Along with that, obviously, again, we want to run the weight room through our summer school program, so we can count those kids. Coach Ryder obviously will be the teacher of record with that, and then we'll have other staff members help with that as well. Driver's education, we don't know yet. Obviously, previously, the last how many years we ran driver's ed through our summer school program where we paid the entry fee for all our students that are in our district. And then we always had a couple students that take it through us outside our district, but they have to pay their own way. Southwest Tech hasn't said anything out yet. They might do the whole thing virtually. So that might be, we don't know how for sure that would relate to our summer school. So that's more to come. Hunter safety in the past, they always taught a class. They're doing one this, I think even in the end of March here at, not on our campus. So I don't know if they want to ask to get it approved, but that one pending interest during our summer school program, if we can count that as not, hopefully we can. Volleyball camp, we ran that or looked at that. Sometimes we were able to run that through our summer school. Sometimes we were not able to. But if we can, I'd like to get that approved tonight. So if it does work out, we'll do that. And one more, I apologize, it's not on there. I would like to have a possible youth basketball drills and skills. I would be the teacher of record for that. However, obviously it's going to be during the school day where I'll be working here, so I would not run that. I would find someone to run that. I have my person in mind. I won't mention any names, but there's a Drury girl out there. I think that would be great for that. So I'm going to hit her up, make sure she's available. But anyway, I would like to add that to it now as well, just in case we can do that. We do have a student through his senior project that is going to try to run one. So we'll see if there's a need, but obviously keep those youth active. I'd like to add that to it as well, if that's possible. Questions before you vote on that? Anything on summer school?
Because the only, obviously, with their past, participation in this, it's always been high numbers, which is outstanding. The question I have is under description of the personal fitness.
Yeah.
So that you're opening up the school for, my understanding is 4 hours each day, is that'd be split between morning and late afternoon, or is that be certain morning or just afternoon?
Right now, we want to split up a little differently this year. I think last year we did 2 sections of 2-hour sections. We want to do hour sections this year. So, for example, you can work out from 6 to 7, and then after that, you can go do shooting workouts, things like that, or after that, or any combination of the above. As far as an afternoon session, we do not have it right now. But what we've done in the past is always checked interest. And if I had someone that was willing to, supervise that, we ran it through it then. So for example, the hard part is that we have to have a teacher, a certified teacher that runs that. Now I have people that would be willing to supervise it, but they're not certified teachers, so I can't count that in our summer school. So, we don't have to count it, but I've had in the past where we can't open it in the afternoons for people that would rather work out at that time.
Yeah. The only reason I ask is obviously there's high school students that will have summer jobs this summer and won't be able to participate if it's only summer or early in the morning because they're going off the job. So.
Right. And I tell them, obviously we can't count it again, but if they're at 4 o'clock, I can come down and watch them, shooting, that's easy, obviously. Workouts, obviously, I don't need someone in there, it's, close by. But.
Good.
Another thing, budget-wise, we did summer school in August last year, and I think the cost was around 15,000 or some neighborhood of 15,000 with salaries. But we usually budget at the 25,000 amount. So now we're doing summer school in twice in the same budget year, but we will pull money from some other accounts where we haven't, we have 10,000, so we have almost half of the money that, from last year, and then we have some accounts that, and we'll go over that, next meeting. But if we had to do it at some point, even, because early on, we talked about maybe we didn't budget for it because we thought we'd push it to next school year. And I asked the staff a couple different times, primarily the elementary staff, because there's a lot of summer school with elementary, if they would want this break, like be done in May and just take up the June off. And they really wanted to do it the regular way. And then there's some time off in July before we start the year. So we'll be back on the same schedule, and next year we'll budget as normal, but it'll be like a little double hit, not quite a double hit, like a 50% more for this, but we will make it up from other accounts.
Josh or Bryce, I noticed on the schedule there, and I know, well, I'm very appreciative of, our summer school program has been top notch, and staff puts, they make it good. The one thing I just want to ask, and I don't remember, what we've done in the past, but Ms. Pierrick, Jean Pierrick, she's been, I know you got her listed as the coordinator. She's done that role, right? And she's like she has extra time to putting this all together. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So I'm totally okay with the extra dollars, but I'm wondering if it should be more than that.
Yeah, possibly. We should check how much, have her give us an idea of how much extra hours she puts in, and we can estimate that.
I would just make a recommendation that if you guys, I just know, like I said, it does a great job, but I know if I remember right from years past, she puts a lot of extra time in just trying to coordinate, and I think it'll probably, it's even tougher, under the circumstance. So if you guys feel that there's something there to make that more, I think it probably would be, in my opinion, be warranted. Now, I don't know what everybody else feels, but that's just, again, my opinion.
You know, we can look at some of this too in negotiations, also, it'll be for next year, normally it'd be for next year, but revisit this and anything else we need to adjust. And I say negotiation, I shouldn't, maybe that's not the right term anymore. It's when we set wages for next year. But I'll look into it.
All right, so this item we will need a motion on to approve.
I'll make that motion, Mike. It's Greg.
I'll second. This is
I'll
Andy.
second Shimmick.
All right, we have a motion by Biba and a second by Benish to approve the summer school program and staffing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item then is graduation 2021 planning.
Graduation, hard to believe that it's getting close, so. I would like to recommend, or I would like to discuss with you having graduation on the football field. Keeping it the same weekend, which would be May, help me, Barb, 22nd, correct?
20 something,
Yeah, so
yes.
if we can do that, I think we can allow obviously more people to attend. I think we could possibly, not locking anything in by any means, but possibly have our scholarship presenters that want to be there to present, allow them to do so. We could have our 50-year grads, if they wanted to attend, could do so. Possibly maybe have the band that we weren't able to have last year. Last year we did it, as you guys remember, in late July. I thought it went extremely well, even though we were limited, more than we would be this year, at least right now, unless things change. So I'd like to recommend that we keep graduation the same weekend, but have it outside if applicable. However, obviously pending weather, right? So I talked to Coach Jade about it and I said, how much time would you need to set up the gym if we couldn't do it outside? I said, if we made the call on a Wednesday and we, looked at the weather far enough and it looked really good, or the chance of rain is pretty high. He said, if you let me know on Wednesday, I can have the gym ready by Saturday easy. So saying that, if we have to move it back inside, that may limit, it probably takes the band out, we'd have to limit, we let parents know this, for example, if we did it outside, we could say, 5 representatives, whatever, 10 representatives per family or per graduate. Inside, we're down to 2 parents, so either way, we're gonna have it, my recommendation, have it on the same weekend, not move it back. Question is one or the other, and I think we can make all that work in the same week. Any questions for me on that one?
And that one, I don't know that we need any approval on.
No.
You're okay with that?
I know it's in
We've
the
got
new
big
business.
sets and
Yeah, I think, obviously we have time, I can come back and fill you in where we're at.
Yep.
So, I know
sounds
Barbie,
like a good plan, and 2 months from now, hopefully we're better than we are a month from now.
correct. All right,
All right, then we're on to College Edge Up applications for fall of 2021.
So there's a little spreadsheet attached to that document. It's showing the courses and it's showing the, for juniors or seniors, and I think the total is 20 of these 3 credit classes. And those classes would, be for a semester, so they would equal out half a credit toward graduation. And they would get the 3 credits for college. This is a cost, to the district, about $8,500 in that neighborhood of, if everybody takes these. Now, sometimes different reasons they don't take all of them, but we've had pretty good, my understanding is pretty good attendance, and some pretty motivated classes coming through. So It's a good deal both ways.
Now, this is just for the fall, there's nothing like there was last summer where there was opportunity to take it through the summer for anything? Just.
I don't know if there's an opportunity, I think these are all for the fall. These are. I don't know why we're not doing it for the summer, or if there's a deadline that has gone by or something. Not sure. But I think it was put together last year for the summer at this time of the year.
Right. We can get back to you on that as far as if these are offered in the summer or not.
Because nothing's come out for the summer offerings yet that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I was just asking because obviously, I know there were students that took them last summer. I don't know if it was the same course offering or if there was different course offerings for the summer.
Well, I know one of the reasons, and actually Nancy was if you remember it, she was the one that set this up with Southwest Tech because of us not being able, remember March, we could have, so that was the same thing with Southwest Tech. They weren't, so this is a way for those guys to get in, come in. Obviously us, we did that through the summer, but I don't know that staff is actually might be one reason not available like they were previously because of that, since they did have their classes now, whatever, more routine. So, but I'd have to check that, to be honest with you, and I'll get back to you now.
This is Todd. I'll make a motion to approve the fall applications for the college up.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Mitchell and a second by Esser to approve the college edge up applications. Is there any discussion?
Mike, do you want that information on the next agenda, or can I just email that out?
You can just send it out. I think it's just a informational piece.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to the Building and Grounds Committee recommendations, and there is a spreadsheet for you guys to take a look at.
You want me to run through this, Bryce, or do you want to?
Well, I'm gonna explain this about, before we get too far down, we have some concerns about the roof. So we want to, there's some bigger ticket items we want to get approved, like the committee had talked about. And some of the smaller things like the press box roof and this concession stand here, a couple other things we're gonna hold off because Mike has met with 2 people.
2 companies, yeah.
Lately, and there's, we want to make sure that we can at least head off any water infiltration for the next 4 years until we can fix the elementary roof right. And I think there's one other spot possibly that he's talking about. So he's getting closer to, he had the person come from
Brown.
today, right?
Yeah. So basically,
Yeah.
explain, okay, so Mike met with Brown today, went up to the roof and they looked at it, and the gentleman that represents Brown seemed to be very, very good. So he looked at the issues that we're having before with, remember the stucco and the flashing coming up underneath that? All right, we looked at that, and you can see where he showed us where there's some possible infiltration of that water's coming in off of that stucco because the flashing wasn't where it probably needs to be, or we know it's not. We also have a little cubby hole up there where the elementary gym meets the high school gym, and there's that little cubby hole there where the drain from that roof is about 30 feet plus from that cubby hole, or that little spot. So it doesn't get much sun there, so that snow is there. Like it's still gonna have snow there now, where most of the snow is melted. So that water's got to travel 30 plus feet to find that roof drain. Well, with that water infiltrating in there, the insulation underneath our roof has kind of curdled up. So it's making it pond there. All right, so that's one problem we got to fix. The other problem is that stucco where there's small, you can see, if you look close, there's small cracks on the bottom of that, just from heat, cold, expansion, and you can see where water's getting through that. So those are some things that we want to, I guess that we don't want to use Band-Aid, but we don't want to, basically what we need to do is spend the money we need to do to get us through, as Mr. Bird said, 4 years as cheap as we can, keep the building where it needs to be until we can get to where we need to place the road. So we're thinking at least 4 years. Talk to Mike, he says that shouldn't be a problem. However, saying that, we don't know what the cost is going to be. So we'd like to hold off on a couple of these other items until we can have another B&G meeting. We'd like to actually invite this guy from Brown down to that meeting. And if you guys want to go up there and actually take a look at it, we can do that. And then talk about what that cost might be and get that out of this year's budget. And then find out where we're at with these other smaller items. If it's possible, great. If it's not, it's not. So, did I miss anything on that, Mr. Bird?
No. That's correct. I need to get up there and see what it looks like, because you guys are talking about it, I can't quite see it in my head exactly.
Mike was trying to draw us a picture, but I tell you what, his artwork is, it looks good. It needs a little work.
Ken, you can go through, then I'll just add in if there's any changes, but.
All right, so basically, we have the, at the very top there, we have replaced the non-working scoreboards in the elementary gym. So, last week we approved to move forward with adding the scoreboards into the gym. And I believe we did the
8212.
8212, correct, because it was, we added the, like the foul number or whatever we wanted to,
Timeouts, I believe.
timeouts onto that, which with a difference in it wasn't a deal breaker. The next one down is replace the leaking water softener, and I think we.
Did you want to do those, Kenny or Mike? You want to vote on those individually, or you want to do a package deal here?
No, I think we'll do the package deal. We made recommendations out of the building and grounds, and then we'll just concur on those, so.
Gotcha.
We got a third bid in now from Hillenbrand. You see that?
Yep. So,
Mike said that Brett should make a call on this.
Oh, great, no. I talked to him, and it's through Hing Hardware too, so it's local, but just from my experience, you know, that the Helen brand is a good unit. I don't know commercial wise, I dealt with the household ones. I just, as far as down the road, I think fixing it at the service end of it would be better through Helen brand, but like I said, I don't know. I just think it maybe will last a little bit longer, but I don't know that much about the Culligan units either, so. But it is $1,000 more, so whatever people think.
According to Mike, when we talked about this and he agrees with Brent, and as far as the maintenance and the, you know, he's very happy with Helen Brand. They've done a great job. So $1,000 today might, you know, save you the $1,000 over the life of the thing as far as the maintenance and the upkeep that they do on it. Again, I'm not saying Culligan or the other bids aren't, you know, are great companies as well, but something that Mike's very comfortable with, something that he's very confident they do a great job as far as the maintenance end of it as well, and a good product, so.
all right. Down, the next line, item down is reshingle or metal roof on the press box. Basically, you see the two bids that we have there. That's gonna be actually tabled until we find out more. That's one of those things that are more of a want than a need right now.
We looked at that yesterday. You had to walk out in the middle of the football field to see it. It's actually, you could get by a few more years. It's not really curled or anything.
It's not in great shape, but it's not something that, I guess if it was my house, I wouldn't replace it yet. Right, is that kind of what we decided with it, Brent?
Yeah, but, it all depends, depends on the money situation too. I mean, it's one thing we could do without for a couple of years if we needed.
Okay, and then down to seal coating and striping the north parking lot. So we have two bids there, one from Farner and one from Midwest. We actually had Farner come back and requote, not including the the front drive out here from basically the turn down to the stop sign. And on their quote, you can see that, you know, it's less than $1,000 to save that money. So based on our recommendation for the building and grounds meeting last week, if it wasn't gonna be a whole lot of money, we kind of talked about breaking the maintenance up on the parking lot and the drive, so we do like two every year for, you know, a number of years. That way we're not spending a whole lot of money trying to do a whole bunch at one time. So my recommendation, as you, talking to all of you right now, would be to remain with the original quote of the $83.90. And then, try to break up, you know, the next 2 years, do 2 more, then the year after that, do 2 more, and then we'll get back into a normal cycle of trying to get it seal coated, crack filled, and whatever else has to be done with parking lots and drives at that time.
Just to add to that too, as far as the front drive adding to it, it would be pending the chip seal and something that, what is it, Kenny, that the oil would have to adhere. So if the chip seal didn't work, then we wouldn't be able to do that in that same product. We just stick with the north parking lot.
Correct.
So just so everyone's aware that they think it's going to, but he's gonna come back here in the next, when it warms up enough and check that out.
Test it.
But it's priced like that because as long as they're here, it doesn't take that much to add a little bit more on
Correct.
everything.
Yep, just be done with it.
And the entry driveway we're talking about is not in front of school, it's
Right,
the
so-
road out.
It's the, yeah, it's the one going east and west on the north side of the front drive, so. So Mike split those up in 3 sections that tried to get the square footage equal and all, about a third and a third and a third. The one back here is about 10,000 more altogether. But then you take this one and you take the front drive one and the other entryway coming in as the second. And then you got the south parking lot and back here is the third. That is the biggest. That's one we just did, so. So to kind of keep it, as you were saying, Kenny, on a rotation when we can.
Right.
So if we did the front drive we're talking about now, that would split it in thirds as
close.
equal as we can, yeah.
Kenny, did you want to talk about just the difference between the 1 coat and 2 coat for those that weren't at the building and grounds is why we go with the more expensive one?
Yeah, so basically the 1 coat is, you're getting 1 coat. Corner does this, you know, they're more of a commercial seal coating company versus what Midwest is, but a lot of what I've seen in my line of work is that doing a 2 coat on a commercial parking lot gives you the better life sustainability that you're looking for in that. So my thought is spend a little bit extra money and do the 2 coat. And that's all included, so you get 2 coats, you get the striping, that's all done in that, with that $83.90.
So spending that now saves us money in the long run.
Right, because the 1 coat you're gonna get at $4,100, you're possibly gonna see that, gonna look like it's gonna need another coat in a year and a half. In my opinion. So. All right, and then down to, security, basically that, or Kendall, that's the replacing that door hardware on the 1 locker room door, is that correct?
Yes. So the 390 is what?
We're recommending that, yeah, the 390 and that one is not
Not
the
the
GAPA.
1568.
Kendall actually works with GAPA, so, but Kendall will give us the parts and Coach A's gonna do the installation himself, so we can save the GAPA's installation price is something that we're gonna not have to do then.
Okay, all right. And then below that is the roofing that Josh talked about earlier. So there's still more to come on that. Below that is the Beacon Athletics for the fence cap on the ball diamonds, on the softball and baseball diamonds. So basically, it's just putting like a drain tile on top of the fence for safety reasons for athletes. If they jump up and try to get a foul ball or something like that, they're not bringing their arm or their body down on the top of the chain link. So right now, I think for the what we had talked about, it's not more of a, it's not a need, it's not a want, so there's other things here we had to kind of figure out whether we had the money for it. If there was money left over, then we certainly would move forward with it. So it's, you can see the cost difference there is not a whole lot between one or the other, but just wanted to let you know what that's for. And then below that is the cost for the kitchen refrigerator. And right now, our thought is to move forward with purchasing a new refrigerator and keeping the one that we currently have and having a gentleman look at it to see if he can get the compressor and everything else working in that one to use it as a different capacity within the school. And right now, we said we want to go with the Kesnex one, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
The quote above that is to
that's basically just replace the
repair, right?
compressor. Correct.
That's another, not a, we don't have to do that now either.
Yeah, that's not, the kitchen refrigerator, that's not something we have to do now, but like, again, if there's money left over, that's something we want to try to get moving forward on, so that's not, sitting out there and just dies one day. And then the, below that is, possibly drawing up like a building, or a concession stand out there, the commons area. So waiting for what the costs are and plans are gonna be for that, so there'll be more to come on that, we'll explain that once we get that. And then obviously, then the last one down there are costs to repair the softball and baseball diamonds with packing clay or bricks to get some of the spots that are in there. Fixed one would be the pitcher's mound in a large portion, not a large portion, but some spots on the softball diamond that are dire need of attention because of water running off the baseball diamond onto the softball diamond. So those we're recommending to get those done this year before we get into the baseball and softball seasons.
Okay, so we're going to do the Helen Brandt for 5,600. And if we taking the fridge off at this time, I'm not going to do that at this time. I'm going to wait to make sure the $3,500 amount. So.
And then that, as well as the steel for the press box.
Yep. So the refrigerator, the steel for the press box, and
It's about 25,000 roughly, those items. What's in the field up? What is the drain tile? Well, that's $500 item.
yep,
So we're saying, I mean, that's not gonna free up much money. If we're gonna do that, I would say we should do that.
right. So that, we just wanted to see what other things came in at. So
Yeah.
obviously, if it's gonna be what it is right now, I would say just move forward with it and be done with it.
And I think, Bryce, some of the items on here, the cap there for $500 and even the $1,000 for fixing up the field, I don't know that board needs necessarily approval on those. That's out of Mike's maintenance budget.
Right.
I think the bigger items here, we should get approval on where we had multiple bids and are doing that. So the scoreboards, the water softener, the asphalt driveway, and then the door locks would be the 4 things that we would be approving.
And so those things that we approve are about 25,000. We still may have near 25,000 left, 20 to 25,000 left unencumbered. But we want to make sure that we can take care of the roof things with that. And then once that's taken care of, we'll see what budget looks like toward the end of the year.
Correct. So I I would make a motion to approve the 8212 scoreboard, the $5,600 Helen brand water softener through Pine Hardware, the quote from Turner Asphalt for $83.90, and then the $390 quote from Kendall Hardware for fixing the locker room door.
I will second that. It's Greg.
So I have a motion by Esther and a second by Viva to proceed with the 4 items that Kenny mentioned there. Does anybody have any questions or discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Josh, the next item then is modifying the 2021 school calendar.
Yes, so what we would like to recommend tonight is a change in our calendar in 2 different sections. One is currently our school year ends on May 27th. So we would like to extend the school year by 1 week to June 4th, which would be the next Friday. And the reason why is this, staff are already on contract to work those days. So it wouldn't be any additional cost for us to pay staff to be here. Those are the days that we gave off during the year. If you remember, we space those out throughout the year. We have professional days where staff get a day off and they come back and we can do some things. But considering the situation with students and academic success, we would like to give the option, not an option, we'd like to extend the school year for any student that needs more assistance to pass their classes, kind of like we did at the end of the first semester, except we're not taking up any more academic days like we did the first semester. We feel that we want to make sure we get all the academic days we can as far as the regular education, so these students would not lose any days, the ones that are passing. We're extending it so we can get extra days. So the 26th and 27th right now are our, for our high school, our finals days. So I'm recommending that we do not have finals in the spring. We use the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th. Those days give students the opportunity in the middle school and the high school to get help and get extra work done to pass classes. And then we would come back on June the 1st, which is a Tuesday, through the 4th. I'm sorry, through the 3rd. So students would have 6 days where they are able to pass classes that they hadn't passed, all right, earlier. And then that June 4th day, which is a Friday, would be a work day for staff and to complete all their grades and everything before summer. So the calendar change again would be 28th, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. As far as extra days, they would also have the 26th and the 27th, which were finals days for those high school kids. So they have that many extra days to get help, an opportunity for them to pass their classes. And then we move that work day back to the next Friday. All right. Elementary staff and middle school staff are here as well anyway. They would have their work time there, and then they would have any team planning they wanted to do, any professional development we wanted to do with them. And then our middle school would have the same thing as the high school, except obviously they still have those 2 days, but never had finals to begin with. So did I confuse everybody in my dates there?
So middle school and high school students would be, if they're passing, would be done on the 25th would be their last day instead of it was supposed to be the 27th.
Correct.
And then the kids who are failing would have 2 days here that they were going to be here anyway.
Correct.
Plus an additional 4 if needed. But if they could get finished up in those 2 days, and get their grades up, then they would be done as well.
Right, I mean, yeah, you're right, so.
Because that's how we did it the last time, is they had those days available, but some of them weren't here the whole time.
Yeah, if the student got done the first half hour they were here, they're done. If it took them every day, and then pending that, if a student at the end of those 6 days that they got extra, if they didn't pass, then they didn't pass. Then they would go into, we are going to have our credit recovery. But this year, the credit recovery will not entail, for example, if they finished the class and they got a 50% in the class, right? Well, they failed the class, the credit recovery would be a different class. So in other words, we would use an online program and they would have to take that class again through credit recovery and get it done before the next school year. We're not going to give them more opportunities to pass the class that they were in. I think 6 days is more than enough time for a kid. I mean, obviously, I'd like to share this with the kids as soon as you guys pass it, if it's passed, to let them know that the school year is not being shortened like we did first semester. I shouldn't say shortened, but we're not using days like we did first semester. We're extending the year by a week, and you're going to have those opportunities. Now, if they don't want to be here, great. Get your stuff done, get in here, get at it, so you don't have to be. But it's an opportunity for those kids to get stuff done. Now, obviously, this is not going to work for seniors. The graduation's obviously the week before. They need to have all that stuff done previous to this.
So the reason that we extend the calendar, so Josh says we're extending the year for all 7 through 12. We're extending the year for everybody, 7 through 12.
Right.
Everybody has the same chance to get done early.
6 to 12, yes.
6 through 12, okay.
Right.
And if we didn't do that, if they don't show up, the ones that are required to show up, that's gonna be a truancy issue. We have a little bit more leverage, a lot more leverage. Those are required days, so they just can't blow it off. If we ask them to come in during the summer, that doesn't always work that well, so we extend the school year.
And then for elementary students, that is not, they're not being extended,
Elementary school is done normal time.
normal time.
Yeah. Just as it is in the calendar. And the other aspect of the change, I don't know if you want to do this separately or not, Mike, but is the rest of our staff are getting their second vaccine shot a week from, I think it's April 6th, Barbie?
Yeah.
So in previous, from what I'm seeing, some people have zero effect, some people they get knocked right out. So we have to go to Land's End for our staff to get that. So we're having staff out of the building it's going to be, 20 minutes there. You got to wait there after you get the shot. So we're talking probably an hour and a half at least. The staff going to be out of the building. So we're looking at doing a virtual day those days. So because we don't have staff to cover, if we can't do it, I mean, that's pending. We don't know yet. We're looking at that to see how we can make it work. But if we have a possible, pending, if we need to, possible 2 virtual days there, so we can get staff there, get back and not have to miss students who still having class, just not in the building that day. So I don't have, because I just don't think I'm going to have enough subs to cover classes when teachers are out. If I can do it, I'll do it. If not, I just want you to be aware. I don't know if that's something we need to vote on, Mike, or just want me to handle that, but you tell me.
I think you're almost just gonna have to handle that, just like any other time you'd have too many staff out, then we couldn't have it. I think everybody would like the kids here if they can, but if we don't have the staff to cover it, then require the virtual. As far as getting them later in the week, we're having to kind of get them scheduled when we can, right?
Yeah. All right.
Josh, are you looking at the semester grade? So if they have a D- for the or an F for the semester grade, or that's my first question. My second question is if you got a student that has a C-, you might have some parent that says, hey, go to school for a couple more days and see if you can't get that to a B-. Are you allowing those in, or are you saying, and the same goes if you got a kid that's got an A and maybe wants to try to get an A+. Or how are you handling that? Are you just looking at the kids that are failing? Is it a semester look at, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, our focus is on just the kids that are not passing the class, so students that are failing.
I think we did over the winter break allow that for kids to bring up grades. So, I mean, I guess I would prefer that be an option, especially those 2 days that they were supposed to be in school anyway.
Yeah, we can definitely do that if you guys want to. I have zero problem with that. I mean, I guess the only issue with that is, you know, the more kids we have here, the less time we're getting individual help with kids that really need it. However, that's not the kids with the bees problem. That's our issue, not theirs, so.
Well,
Yeah.
Sometimes there isn't a lot those kids can do. I mean, they may have taken their test and a lot of the failing stuff is incomplete work, right? That needs to get finished and completed. And if all the work's completed and the tests are taken and they've already retaken some stuff, there sometimes isn't anything they can do to bring it up after they're kind of done.
I will definitely add that to that and make sure kids know that if that's what you guys vote in, I will make sure kids have that option.
Was there kids that took advantage of that at the winter break?
There was, I think, one for sure, but I don't know that there was more than one that did.
So it's not like we're gonna be overburdened.
Correct, well, unless that changes, right. I know one for sure, but I don't think, I can guarantee there was less than 5, but there was one that I didn't know about, and I don't, it's top of my head, I'm only ignoring things. But
So the majority of the students who need the help are showing up, and the ones who don't really need the help, there was a couple that came. Is that what I'm understanding?
Right. Maybe not even a couple, Katrina, I think one.
Okay. Just because it is important that we work with the kids who need the help.
Yeah, definitely.
well, and I would just add that I think it's a good plan to try to get it in place now, Josh, because I know what you and Bryce, what you guys are thinking. It should be one heck of an incentive for everybody to be there by the, let's see, was it the 27th or what'd you say, 26th is our last day? Somewhere in there. I mean, I think if
25th will be the last day for students that are passing.
yeah, so I think if you tell them, hey, you gotta be here an extra week, I think that would, I think
I would hope that would light a fire, wouldn't it?
I like the way you're thinking, so, yeah.
And I do like it where the first 2 days were the scheduled days, so it's not automatically that they have to extend the school year. There are a couple days there that if they're just short a little bit, they can hopefully get it wrapped up.
And then there'll be some staff that obviously have less students, so I shared with staff at a staff meeting today that those staff then would be helping in other classrooms, work with individual kids and split them up and get the students that needed as much one-on-one stuff or, less teachers, a smaller ratio. So all the staff would be busy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it, Shimmick.
We have a motion by Esser and a second by Schmick to approve the 2020-2021 calendar modification as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item then is the property insurance renewal.
So the renewal, with what we have is a $500 deductible. It was $12,183 last year. It's gone up. Talked to the agent a couple days ago. He's talking about some COVID related things, and also it goes up a little bit each year because the valuation goes up and the cost to replace or rebuild, that continues to go up. So I looked at the options. There's 3 options. And it looks like the middle option, if we would go to $2,500 deductible, we save $1,000. And that $1,000 we save, we're only getting, we're paying $1,000 more for a little bit higher deductible. So unless you had a claim every year, I think you'd be money ahead with the middle option. Go a couple of years without a claim. We had a claim last year, the year before, they said with, some, an issue with
Light insurance.
Has that just been once recently? It seems like every year we're But you said it hasn't been every year that we've been having claims?
No,
Well, I know this last one,
2019, up in Maddie's. Isn't there a problem when they had that bad weather during the
Yeah.
prom time and the
Yeah,
power was going
power
on
off,
off and on and off?
problem with that is when we lost power here and what they do is they bring us in from the north and they switched it over so we get power again. We had that issue where the transformer, whatever it was out by the press box. But when they came in and they fixed that stuff, it says you might have defects from this or, you don't know. 6 months from now, you might have something gone because it shortened its life up to that point where we've had that too, where 6 months later, then we had some other stuff go out so we try to bring that claim, keep that open, so that's the issue with that, so it
well,
looks
if you had a
like.
claim every other year, you'd still be ahead $500. If you had a claim every year, you should stay with the lower deductible. But if it was at least every other year, you'd save $2,000 and you have $1,500 less, or $1,500 higher of a deductible, but you'd be $500 ahead. That's what I was looking at. Linda, do you know, are you still listening? Do you know how many claims we've had? I mean, how many years?
Last year was the first year we had a significant claim. Other years we've gone without any.
Okay, thanks. Like you said, Josh, it might have been just that one that it kept
Standing out on us.
Like 3 different times, we had other things we found, like the gym, elementary gym lighting and. Okay. And you said right now we're only at a $500 deductible price?
Yes. For $1,000.
1,000,
Yeah.
but the price was around 12,700.
It was 12,183.
12,183, okay.
This is Todd. I'll make a motion to approve the option 2 with the $2,500 deductible.
I'll second it.
A motion by Mitchick and a second by Drury to approve option 2 for the insurance with the $2,500 deductible. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to personnel items. We got a JV assistant softball coach contract.
Yeah, Sarah Hennessy I'd like to recommend her for our paid assistant. Gary Pusinic informed me that he would like to step down as a paid assistant and then help out when he can as a volunteer. Reason being, he can't, hopefully, he is very busy watching his daughter play up in Edgewood pitch a whole ton this year. So he knows obviously he's going to be available a lot. So put him as a volunteer, and then switch Sarah Hennessy, who was a volunteer last year, and move her up to the paid assistant.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion by Esser and a second by Drury to approve the JV assistant softball coach contract for Sarah Hennessy. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Pretty quiet online there. Opposed? Motion passes. Bryce, you had some dates that we need to set for committee meetings.
Yeah, so there's one, first of all, policy. He gave us any dates, and he didn't, did he?
He didn't do us anything.
So we should look at meeting with our consultant and that, and how early could we meet? 5:30 too early? No, Katrina, you're on there. For policy, 6 o'clock?
I'm on there too, Bryce, but I don't know when you're
Aye.
planning on having it.
I can do 6. 5:30 is just a little too soon.
I don't know, it's probably not anytime.
And the next board meeting should be April 14th. So we can work back from there for our committee meetings.
Okay, then let's do building and grounds. Could we do that more like on the 7th? Chance to get some things together. Can we put on the finance, can we just have the bus, the virtual days, whatever, we're gonna negotiate with that, have that in the finance committee. And then basically what Lynn and I are gonna work on some stuff and we'll be just presenting where we are here today, those type of things. So the night before, the 6th, is that at all possible?
So you want to do April 6th for finance and April 7th for B and G?
Yeah. Then if we went the week before that, either one of those 2 nights, Tuesday or Wednesday, or it could be a Thursday too, but it kind of depends on Steve Lavelle, our consultant, but so the week before that.
I guess April 6th or 7th, those dates work for me, so it's. Just need a confirmation.
And then do you want those two at 5:30, Bryce, if you can?
Yeah, if people can make it.
Brent, can you make 5:30? Todd, can you make 5:30?
I could do 5:30 for the finance one.
And you're okay on the 6th, Todd?
Yep.
So otherwise, like March 30th or 31st for policy. Last 2 days in March, one of those 2 days.
Either one works.
That's fine for me too.
I'm not available those days, but if you guys got enough, go for it.
An alternate for that.
I think we just need 2 of us, don't we?
You do just need 2, I know there's an alternate too,
I'm looking it up.
I don't know who it is.
What's that on for?
I think it's Drury.
Policy.
If it's not, let's put Drury in there. I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'm the alternate.
Are you? Yeah.
Well, let's make sure that that Steve Lavelle is available.
So you're looking at 30 or 31st, depending on if Steve's available.
Yes.
Linda Lou available? Or she's zooming in for this one? How we doing that?
Usually, yeah. Barbara's one that has to be here.
Barbie? Are you available?
And if he's not available one of those days, you gotta find another day, make sure you check with Greg to see when he's available.
Okay.
It can be after the 14th too, if you want.
We don't wanna cheat you here, Greg.
Well, hey, I might request that we just, as one of my last efforts, that we actually just sit and read through every policy on the Neola site to make sure we all understand it, you know?
I've already done that.
On my first board meetings, we had the first reading and they told me I had to do it because I was the newest board member and I agreed I was gonna have to.
All right, good, thanks.
All right, I think that brings us towards the end, Brent.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
A motion by Drury and a second by Esser to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned at 7:58. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
I'm texting Brad.
We're still recording here, just so everybody knows.
I feel like California.
No,
Yeah. You did it.
And it's warm in here tonight. So that referendum for the building expenses was paired with, I think we did it all under an operating referendum, a recurring operating referendum. And we had it for expenses and the borrow. So I think we did like a $250,000 recurring referendum. And just part of that was that $70,000 payment for the borrow.
That's the goal.
We did it within that.
Good question.
Because we did have a separate question on a capital borrow for fitness center and stuff, but that failed.
Right.
But we had that other one wrapped within the operating referendum.
But you must have not used the impression. All right. Or unless it exceeded $1 million, maybe, then you have to go to that.
Right. But we did go to referendum to get the money to pay it back under the regular operating
They'll be
referendum.
shutting it off shortly.
What's that?
They'll be shutting it off shortly.
So then I think we had enough borrow
To give it back.
capacity
Yeah.
that we didn't have to go to ask specifically for that.
Because some of the repairs, I mean, you may have to, let's see if the roof is really bad, but the roofs are.
It's in the meeting twice, so it's all.
You were in the meeting, what?
Huh?
You were in-
Although this
Yes.
roof wasn't that bad, right?
Two
We
tricks
did
it
it
was
for $450 or something. Yeah.
I did that in my principal meeting, and I got out, and then I just go back in this place, and I went back in, so there's two of me, and it's just starts that one, everybody's looking at me like,
No cost when you build them, Trusses and all that, that's just too much expense, that seems like you're paying up.
Well, see, the reason they do it is one, is it's cost,
Hello?
pitch roof.
Yeah.
Two, everything you put on the roof, you then have to find a
Delivery, yeah.
certain spot for it on the ground someplace. And then you have to run everything that much further to it to get it in and out of the building.
Oh, you mean, you put the
Air handler.
chillers or whatever that is,
Yeah, everything that's on the roof, all has to be put on the ground.
never thought of that.
Additional expense to get it from that point into the building and once there were here, they just drop down through the roof and they're going over it, they're already going. That's the reason why. So,
wait.
yeah, I
And
agree.
if they can consider that at all.
So you got a bar,
I agree with you.
so make sure you.
I'd much rather say pitch roof than we never have to deal with it again, but
Summer school.
You don't want water setting, right? That's the worst thing.
Summer school, you, that's the way. So.
that is the deal. See you guys later.
I'll see you later.
See you, Ken. Clyde, I'm gonna.
Yep.
Josh, I don't want you to leave until that light's on.
Got it, I'm on it.
You gotta win this. Excuse me, turn it on. She had the most votes the first time. She's supposed to be wrong here. She did a fundraiser at my.
There you go.
Plays guitar and she plays stage, plays keyboards and. Nothing to Ricky Rossmeyer, that used to be in a school board for that. Ross, no, I think it sounds familiar. He played the drums. So then I got told, he got told.